I believe that everything starts with gratitude. And so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Keith Williams, Double Diamond here at my new home, right? Flag is planted. I am unrecruitable, guys. This is it. I was on the phone with James this morning. I said, man, this is absolutely unfair, right? But favor isn't fair, guys. And I truly believe that this company has favor over it. And so I start every day off with gratitude, man. I think gratitude, when people ask me how the product works, I say with gratitude, right? People ask me how does the compensation plan work? I say with gratitude, because everything starts with gratitude, because being grateful will keep you humble, right, man? And so if you got your pens out, your notebooks, and you can write, man, get ready to go for this ride. So we're going to talk about some things this morning, guys, about, this amazing company and the amazing products. And one thing I can tell you about the products are not on trial, right? The products are not on trial, ladies and gentlemen, at all. The products were here before we got here, right? And so we know the products aren't on trial. We know the compensation plan isn't on trial. And some people believe that, the compensation plan drives the business, but I believe that we in the field, we drive the compensation plan. One thing I can say about this compensation plan, the reason when I looked at this compensation plan, I told David, right, who also, man, that trainer on that, man, he did that trainer on that book. I met him. I said, I don't know where you at, man, where you going to be? I need 100 of those books because those books are amazing, David. I've read it twice, man, so I can't wait to get into the hands of the people in the field, but just amazing training and the gratitude over here, man, is overwhelming. I don't know about you, but if you're grateful, right, put a 1 in the chat, man, if you're grateful for this opportunity. If you woke up this morning and you were grateful just for the breath that entered into your body, right? Put a 1 in the chat, guys. And if you have an opportunity to take these amazing products and they're impacting your health, right? Gratitude, guys. And so I'm grateful for the leadership. And when I first talked to David, I said, I really have to talk to David or Alex to understand that this compensation plan was written by people that were grateful for the field, from people that have been in the field and done some tremendous things in the field. And the leadership here is still in the field. And so we have an opportunity to pull back those layers of leadership. And that's one thing that I'm not tracking my time because I'll talk, man. I'll talk as long as Alex. But it's okay, guys. 2 hours and I promise I'm done. Right. And so man, I tell you this, man, I'm just, you pull back those layers of leadership. I'm grateful about the leadership that we have in this company, right? The leadership that this company is attracting and, transitioning from my previous company, man, it's just like a breath of fresh air to have so much leadership, so much value, so much love in this company. It's simply amazing. And so now that we got the mushy stuff out the way, let's get into the business, right? And so today, guys, it's the first of the month. It's the first of the month, right? I don't know about you, Eric, you probably know that. So it's the first of the month, right? Wake up, bones, thugs, and harmony, right? But it's the first of the month, guys. And we just closed out the month strong. And I always say how you want to start the month is how you want to start the month, right? Is how you should finish the month. And so a lot of times when we're ending the month, we should always end the month with the beginning month in mind, because how you finish the month off is how your next month is going to start, right? And so you want to start off with momentum. And I know for a lot of new people, I once was new. I heard Alex's story and I heard David's story and the humble beginnings of how they started in this industry. And it kind of reminded me of how I started in the industry. And I was introduced to my first company, and how I dropped out of college to raise my firstborn son. I was working 2 jobs. I was working for a correctional facility for youth in the day. I was making milk jugs at night, and everything in between to make ends meet. And guys, trust me, right? When I say this, ends should never meet. And so I was trying to make those ends meet that shouldn't have been meeting in the first place. And somebody introduced me to this amazing industry of network marketing. It changed my life, right? Changed the direction of my life. And since then, I don't really consider myself as a network marketer, but I do consider myself as a businessman that uses this amazing opportunity of network marketing to conduct business, and it's an opportunity for us to create cash flow. And so when you get in, you are overwhelmed. It took me a year and a half, guys, to recruit my first person in this industry. Now, most people would have quit, right? Imagine being in the company a year and a half and not putting one person in the business. That was my story. But the education I got, right? The training I got, the development I got, I didn't know that the things that I was learning was preparing me for success later on in the future. And so a lot of times when you get in a company like this, you could be overwhelmed because this company is going to attract a certain type of leadership, right? And everybody starts off at a certain point, right? Some people start off with a high level of leadership, a high level skill set. Some people start off with, a remedial, right, level of leadership, and some people have none at all. But you got to understand this, that every one of those individuals, right, you got to start, right? You got to start. And I remember my mentor said, you don't got to be good, you just got to be busy, guys. And so understanding that it could be overwhelming at times, you should know how to start your month. And so what you got to know is you got to understand where you're at. I think the biggest thing is awareness, right? Being aware of where you're at. I think that once you are aware, right? And that's one thing I love about being a human being, is that we have what we call a conscience, and it separates us from every living thing on the earth because we have a conscience, right? But alongside that consciousness, it should bring you a level of awareness. And so I'm aware that this business model can generate billions of dollars, right? I'm aware that the opportunity is vast and people can earn uh, astronomical amounts of money in this space. And so I'm aware of that. And because I'm aware of that, I I train it like that. And I also learn it like that too as well. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I inspect what I expect. I expect, right? Like when you hear Alex and you hear the owners of this company, you hear the leaders in this company, they expect, right? That's one thing I was sharing, like with newly promoted Diamond, Eric Carter, aka Easy. I was saying, hey man, one thing I love about this company is the expectations, right? They expect to be big. They're preparing us to be big, guys. And preparation is key. And so we want to be prepared. And so when you get into the month and you understand that I'm aware that I'm in a sales driven company, right? I'm aware that we drive volume for paycheck, and being aware of that, I understand that it's certain things that you must know, a certain skill set you must have. And I did a training a few Saturdays ago called the art of the launch, because I believe in launching a little differently. Like some people, they get in, they say we're launching, right? But I think that you have to prepare to launch. When you're in the military, no matter what branch you're in, you just don't get a gun in your hand and go to war, right? It's something called boot camp, something you have to go to because you have to be prepared, right? And so when you're in the battlefield, you have the skill set, you have the awareness, you have the consciousness, you understand what's going on, what's taking place, and you're prepared for any situation that can happen. That's why you go through boot camp. And so when you get to that stage, or when you get to that point, you have what we call experience, right? And so, guys, when you launch a team, you want to launch a team with experience. You want to launch with double diamonds and emeralds and platinums. You want to launch with people that have testimonies of the product. You want to launch with results, right? Not just launch to say you're launching, because if you launch a large group of people and they're not ready, right? Can you imagine having a group of troops that haven't went through boot camp and you just throw them on the battlefield? It's a disaster, right? It's a slaughter. And so you want to be prepared, because we're a company that's in momentum, but we haven't hit momentum yet. And so what should your months look like? So I just want to share my screen. Let me see if I can. I sent a request. If y'all can let me share my screen, James. There we go. All right, 1 second, guys. Oh, here we go. Boom. There we go. Appreciate you guys. All right. So if y'all can see my screen, man, put a 2 in the chat so we can get this thing rocking. All right. Awesome. I see the twos coming in. I see the twos coming in. So let's get going. So what should your month look like? So I remember when I was doing that training, I said it was several slides, right? That can actually, hold on, guys. We can get somebody to help me mute out. That'd be great. I have several slides, and I said, even one of those slides I can train on 30 minutes to an hour because there's so much depth in the training. And so one thing I want to focus on today, with it being the first of the month, right, is how should you break those days down in a month? And I call it staying in the zone, right? It's the blueprint of success, of how you break down your months to drive volume, right? To drive paycheck, to drive rank, to help people become successful. What does that look like? And so, they say, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? And so you break your month down, right? Day by day, you break it down in sections. And so right now, guys, we're in what we call the white zone, right? The white zone. And so if you're writing this down, it's the first 10 days of the month. Day 1 through 10 is called the white zone. And in the white zone, what should you be doing? You should be having all out massive exposure, right? Like right now, guys, what should we be doing? We should be having all out massive exposures. And I talk, when we talk about going wide, I learned that from a gentleman that wrote a book called The Magic of Compound Recruiting, right? And some of you dinosaurs in the industry, y'all probably read that book before. You know what I'm saying? And he talked in that book about width is for wealth. right? Width is for wealth. And he said depth is for stability, right? Depth is for stability. And, you know, Alex wrote this compensation plan. I said, man, somebody of a genius mindset wrote this compensation plan because we have a comp plan that truly rewards the right behavior, right? From the beginning to the end, even down to the customer, guys. And so when you look at it, right, when you look at the compensation plan, and I go, and I'm not doing a comp plan training, but I'm just saying that in order to grow your numbers, you have to know your numbers, right? And why not put yourself in a situation to max out a compensation plan that's built, right, for wealth? And so when you look at the check matching the compensation plan, guys, it's the only component of the compensation plan that really has no cap to it, right? And when you look at that, it's based on what? Width, because there's no limit to how wide you can go, right? And so width is for wealth. And then we have the binary bonus, not to be confused for binary compensation plan, but binary bonus. And what does that do? That, right, motivates people on the team to actually recruit, and we help each other drive that check. And so when you look at that, the depth is there. We had a conversation. It's going to drive depth. It's called geometric progression, guys. Depth is going to happen on its own. But what doesn't happen on its own is the width. You're responsible for the width. And he said in the book, he said that if you have, very few children, it's most likely you're going to have very few grandchildren, right? He said, but if you have a lot of children, most likely you're going to have a lot of grandchildren. So most likely the width of your organization is dependent upon you, right? And so we talk about go wide, and that's just nothing more than a billionaire's business philosophy on how to build your business. And we say wide or die, right? And it's not an offensive statement. We just mean that if you don't continue to go wide, then your income could possibly die. And so you got to generate that width, and that width comes from exposure, maximum visibility, right? Posting online. You know what I'm saying? I saw a Wonder Woman, right? Congratulations on hitting double diamond, man. I'm so excited. It was like someone on this team hit it because, guys, right? That creates visibility. And guess what? I'm going to leverage that visibility, right? And so we should be sharing each other's posts. We should be sharing each other's achievements. We should be sharing each other's product testimony because it drives visibility, and visibility draws attraction, right? And so if you're visible, if you're out there, you're sharing the opportunity. If you're putting those, you call them products, I call them tools, right? If you're putting those tools in people's hands, that's visibility on the product. Especially when you think about the United States, you think about a market, right? It's like right now, man, it's like a ocean that's never been fished in, guys, right? And so I want I want my product in people's hands. One thing that you want to do is you want to give everybody, right? Write this down, guys. And this will help you get over the fear of the no, right? Give everybody you meet the opportunity to tell you no first. That's how I look at it, right? I said, I'm gonna give everybody the opportunity to tell me no first. Because when somebody comes around and they talk about Vital Health or they share the product, they're like, man, God gave me some of that Vital. God gave me some of that coffee, right? Somebody told me about that amazing comp plan. Give everybody the opportunity to tell you no first. And when you look at it like that, it's not a negative thing. Remember, no just means not obligated, right? And that just means they're not obligated at this time. And so aggressive outreach and content, right? Aggressive outreach and content. I'm pushing content out there. Man, we got one of the most amazing tools in the industry. It's the Vital Health Bot. Man, it's the Vital Health Bot. That's a $1 million tool. I've used a lot of tools in this industry, but when you have a company that jumps on AI technology that soon and allows you to put it in the marketplace, and people are naturally acquisitive, right? That's why we're scrolling every day and we're information junkies. Guess what people are going to do? They're going to start asking the bot questions and asking more questions. The bot doesn't get sleepy. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't take off days. It's one of the most innovative and aggressive tools in this space, guys, and we have that over here. And so if you're not using a bot, man, I don't know what you're doing, but the bot is going to give you what? It's going to give you that outreach. It's going to provide that content. You should be pushing that, right? And lead generation. If you're social, I'm barely face to face, right? I got a list about 400, 500 names. And so I'm on the phone calling. But hey, some people use leads, right? Some people use social media. It doesn't matter how you get the message out there. You just want to make sure that you're getting it out there. And these are things you need to be doing. Massive exposure, guys, right? To the business. High energy marketing. High energy. You want your energy to be high, right? You want to be excited. If you think I'm not excited about the new double diamonds and diamonds that's breaking, you crazy. Find something to get excited about. And you see right here, it says excitement and precision, right? What does precision mean? It means precision means precise, right? Which just means intent, right? So when you talk about excitement, you got to be intentional with your excitement. I'm a man, look. I'm a Marvel movie fanatic, right? All the way back to the comic book days. And I remember when the movie came out, my favorite Marvel character is the Hulk, right? And so I remember a part in the movie, and some of you Marvel junkies might remember it. And they was battling the aliens, and they was on the bridge, and and Bruce Banner rolls up on that little scooter, right? He rolled in the middle of all the chaos. He rolls up on that little scooter, and and the aliens are coming, and he jumps off the scooter, and Captain America says, "Hey, man." He said, "Get mad, right? Make yourself mad." He was like, "Get mad." And he looked back at him. He said, "That's the thing." He said, "I'm always mad." And that's my favorite scene in the movie, because what he did, he understood that he's in control of his emotions. And once he got his emotions under control, he can get angry whenever he wanted. So let's just switch that to excitement. Are you excited all the time? No, right? But at any time, you could be excited. At any time, you can be excited. See, your emotion is driven by you. Shouldn't nobody control your emotions? I can be down, I could be out, I could be going through a dark time, but if I want to get excited, I can think about something that excites me, right? Angry is a choice. Excitement is a choice. So I love that part of the movie, because he said, "Man, I can turn this on whenever I want to," right? And that's dangerous, right? When you can control your emotions, you're a dangerous individual. And so find a way to get excited, right? I got a story I tell Miss Annie Phillips, right? I've been telling her story, man. I've been yelling her story from the mountaintops, because saying, Miss Annie, in her 70s, we call her Mama BH, right? And she just is so excited when she gets on the Zoom. She talks about, "Hey, I wasn't making $20 a week in my last company, and to come over here and making like 500 a week, and probably gold when everything finishes." I tell that story. And every time I tell that story, I get excited, right? And when I'm not excited, when I don't feel like it, and when I'm tired, and when I just don't have the energy, I tell her story. And before I can finish telling, I'm excited again, right? So nobody controls your excitement. You control that. And so, guys, in the white zone, you got to be intentional with your exposure, right? The first 10 days of a massive, massive exposure. And guess what's going to happen? You're going to recruit people in that exposure process, right? But you're not done yet. You're not done yet. That's an exposure process. You're still going to bring people into your business, because what happens is, like last month, right? Put a, put a 5 in the chat if most of your team didn't start working to the last 30 minutes of the month. Because we know, right? I see the networkers out there laughing, because it happens, right? Yeah, look, it happens. It's like, "No, you want to work now, right?" It's like, "We got 10 minutes left. Yeah, we can knock out 30,000 in volume. Let's get it done, right? Why not?" And so that's what happens. Why? Because most people don't understand the zones, right? And so, guys, instead of doing 80% of the work in the last 20% of the month, right? Why don't you do 80% of the work in the first 20% of the month? Change that. And this is how you do it. When you understand the zone, you understand what you should be doing, right, in this different section of the month. And so now we're moving over to the blue zone. What is that, guys? That's intentional follow-up. Now you want to start following up with those individuals that you prospected, those individuals that you exposed. And so you want to nurture, right? You want to nurture those prospects, guys. You want to build those relationships. You want to talk to them, not just about business. People think that when you tell people this, they assume that, "Oh, I don't got time for that." It doesn't take a lot of time. I have people that I was just introduced to a few weeks ago. You would think we've known each other for months, because it's not always about the business, right? I want to know if they said somebody's sick in their family. I'm checking on that first, right? I'm asking them how their day went. I'm building that rapport. I'm building that relationship. I'm nurturing those leads, right? I want to do one-on-one follow-ups, because the fortune we know is in the follow-up. So I want to follow up with those prospects, right? I want to ask them, "Hey, what'd you like best about what you see?" Right? And I want to say, "Hey, what say, I know that." And so what happens is I go back and I ask, I said, "Well, you told me that you love the fact that our products are natural, right? You love the herbalistic." Can I use that word, Brooke? Herbalistic. The herbalistic functionality of our products. I sound educated now, even though it took me 6 years to graduate from high school, but who cares? And so guys, when you look at that, right? When you follow, so what's preventing you from getting started? Right? Follow up with them, have those conversations, because at the end of the day, it's all about overcoming objections. They just didn't get enough information to make an educated decision. And when you don't follow up, what's going to happen is eventually somebody's going to cross paths. They're going to cross paths with somebody's in the business, and they're going to have a conversation. right? And then the things that you didn't, because you didn't follow up, the things that they needed to close them, somebody else is going to close them. And so follow up with somebody. How long should you follow up? Until one of you die, right? So just playing, bad joke. So look, strategic redirecting the messaging, guys. We call it BAM fam, right? Book a meeting from a meeting. Right. And so what I'm doing is I'm not really looking to close people, but I'm looking for the next point of exposure. Right. The video, yeah, they were excited about the video, but it didn't close them. So I want to invite them to a Zoom, right? They're excited about the Zoom, but they still don't have all the information they need. They need some product questions. I'm gonna get them on the phone with Brooke, right? I didn't understand the compensation plan, but man, it sounds good, but I'm just a little confused how it works. I'm gonna get them on with David. And so I'm going to redirect, right? Redirect. I overcome objections by redirecting back to the presentation, by redirecting back to the information, because they see the information enough times, right? It's going to overcome those objections. And so I always use the redirecting the messaging. That's what we were, redirecting the messaging. So just getting people back to the information, right? Then emphasize on relationship building, right? Build and nourish those relationships. Build and nourish those relationships. It's very important that you build those relationships because, guys, relationships that you build are directly tied to the culture. And the culture is everything, right? The culture is everything. And so culture outlasts companies, right? And so that's just a little nugget there. But culture outlasts companies. And so how do you build culture? You build culture by developing relationships, right? And then guys, we end with the red zone, days 21 through 30, right? Hey, if you're in my group, if you're in my chat, make sure you let people know we're back on. So lock in and closing. End of the month, right? You're in the red zone. What should you be doing? You should be securing the bag, guys. You should be closing, having those final conversations, right? Having those final conversations with people, objection handling and urgency push. How do you do this? Three-way calls, right? Three-way calls. Use third party to overcome objections. Use third party to ask for the close. Use third party to secure the pack, right? Use third party to build value in a higher pack. So people say, hey, well, you know what? This is why, choose the pack that you want to choose that best fits your financial situation. But this is why people on our team choose this pack, right? This is why this is the most important pack, because you'd be surprised, guys, when you build value, right? You'd be surprised when you build value that people will go find the money, right? So you got to build value, and there's so much value in what we have. You know what I'm saying? There's so much value in what we have. And so close prospects, sign up, and commitments. And so that's what you want to be doing in the red zone. You want to be closing those processes. Last 10 days of the month, you want to be closing, right? Last 10 days of the month, you want to be getting people signed up and locked in. You want to be getting commitments. People say, hey, well, I don't have it today, but next week I'll be financially able to get in. Well, get that commitment and follow up on those commitments, right? And so I'm finding commitments. I'm going through the my list that I was exposed that of the people that I exposed, right? I'm going through the list of the people that I followed up with, and I redirected to other sources of information that's going to help me close, right? I'm following up with those people that I have a relationship with. I'm going through my blue zone, my white zone and blue zone. I understand in the white zone, people are getting in. You can't say the right thing to the wrong person, right? You can't say the wrong thing to the right person. People are getting in the business in those zones. But what happens is, guys, when you get to that last 20% of the month, because you were working the month properly, because you were doing the massive exposures, because you were doing massive follow-ups, right? Then it's not hard to close the month because you started out the month doing the work. What happens is a lot of times, ladies and gentlemen, we're trying to do all three zones in the last 10 days of the month, right? We're trying to do all three. We're trying to expose, right? We're trying to follow up and we're trying to close. And then what happens is it looks like desperation, right? It looks like I need you to get in my business because I'm trying to hit this rank. I need you to get in my business because I'm trying to reach this goal, right? Instead of actually building relationships, actually exposing people in the beginning of the month and preparing yourself to close at the end of the month, guys, because you've done the work, right? You've done the work. And so right now, there's nothing left to do but to close those prospects and then repeat, right? Repeat the process and prepare for the next launch. Right, prepare for the next launch. And so those individuals that came in, what should you be doing in the beginning of the month? Those efforts compound. Yeah. Right, they compound. And so in the beginning of the month, guess what? You're in the white zone, you're exposing, but you're also launching those new individuals take them through the same process, getting them prepared, right? Managing expectations, managing emotions, and you're launching your team. And so I just wanted to share this slide real quick with you guys to show people they're not overwhelmed, right? So people are not frustrated. So people are not wondering what to do. That people understand that if you break these days down, if you break those 30 days down in these zones, then it prepares you to close the month strong. It prepares you to drive volume, and volume, guys, right? Volume drives paycheck. And so I will end with this right here. I will say this, guys, that when you look at the business of network marketing, because it's so easily affordable, right? When you think about $1,200 to launch a business where you can make the type of money that our uplines, David and Brooke, are making. You heard them having 5-figure weeks, and people that are making the type of money they're making, and even people that are making a great part-time income. It's hard to believe that you can do so much with that little investment, right? And a lot of times people treat the business like a little business, and it's not. A lot of people treat this business like a hobby, and it's not, right? Hobbies cost you money, right? Business pay you money, so treat it like a business. And one of my there's 3 places I don't like to go: Walmart, the post office, and IKEA furniture, right? But people love IKEA. People love IKEA, and then they go to IKEA and they see the furniture and it looks real good, it looks real nice, right? And then they get it and they get it home, and then they realize it's assembly required, right? It's assembly required. And all of a sudden, it doesn't look like the picture no more. All of a sudden, they don't want to read the directions, right? They don't want to put it together. And that's how this business works, right? We see the picture, we see the people making money, we see the picture on the box, but when we get it, we realize it's some assembly required. And we just want to put together what we see on the picture. We don't want to follow the instructions, right? We don't want to read the manual, guys. And so what I'm saying is be coachable, be teachable, follow the instructions, be patient, right? I heard somebody say one day to be impatiently patient. And it took me a while to understand what that meant, right? That means I'm patient in the process, right? But I'm impatient in my work ethic. I'm impatient in my willingness to learn. I'm impatient on trying to figure out how to do business. I'm impatient in those aspects, but I'm patient enough to give myself time to grow, right? And so remember, guys, some assembly required when you get in this business. You got to be willing to put it together. You got to be willing to build it, right? And then eventually what happens when you build it, it will look like the picture. So guys, I appreciate you. I know